All right, hello everyone, it's Raleigh and welcome to the channel. So finally we're here with the Skimmer. So before we dive into the Skimmer, I do want to address, the thing is we're coming off of the back end of the Elite Specialization beta and all the people giving their feedbacks and stuff. And I wanted to address like a couple things with just my thoughts on that whole process, you know? So the thing with that whole situation with the Elite Specializations and the beta and stuff is that I think, for one, I think ArenaNet is going in the right direction of having one thing that we've realized, and I say we because we actually went through on a recent stream and we looked at everything that, like, we looked at the End of Dragons beta specifically. Okay, so I did a long stream for the End of Dragons beta. I think I did a couple streams actually, because I think it was on different days that I did it, but the End of Dragons beta, I went through and I streamed a whole bunch of it, and then I actually went back after the fact and made like a video of kind of summarizing my thoughts on how I felt about all of the Elite's specializations during the beta. And the reason we did that is because on stream someone was talking about how the changes, someone said, I think they made like a ton of changes between End of Dragons beta and the actual release. Okay, but they weren't sure, and it wasn't just like, you know, we weren't fighting or anything, but I was like, I remember there being like next to no changes. And so I actually went through, because you can watch that footage and you can see what the icons look like, what the different abilities look like all of the stuff, right? Like, you know, how everything functioned, what the traits did, what the weapons did, like all of the stuff. From that video, right, to what we have now with the Elite Specializations. And quite honestly, there was only one Elite Specialization that saw a lot of changes, and that was the Vindicator. Because the Vindicator during the beta functioned completely different in the way that the flip over skills worked, and like the Alliance, you know, the way that it worked back then was that the Alliance abilities would flip over anytime you used them. And it was very clunky, and there was only one dodge that you got out of it, but it was more powerful, and like all these things. So a lot of that changed, but that was the only big changes that we saw. There was some art for like the catalyst, and there was some like minor changes, I guess, for some of the art, but most of the functionality, most of the skills, most of those things all stayed pretty much the same. And so that was kind of always my argument, was that ArenaNet does these betas, but they're not technically betas, because we get to test something that is in its final stages, that's almost ready to be shipped. They're only doing minor changes to it now, right? Like, that was always my complaint, because it's like, that's not really a beta. Like, we're not beta testing. We're getting, like, it's a preview, right? That's what it pretty much is. It's a preview of this almost finalized product. Where now, this beta that we have for Visions of Eternity, it really felt like it was a beta, because a lot of the Elite Specializations were rougher on the edges. And I think that's a good thing, because ArenaNet is hopefully now listening to the player base on the feedback and making changes based on the feedback that they received, right? Now, my thing is, and that's something that I've always said about betas, is that we don't know what ArenaNet's takeaway is, right? And someone might say, well, how does that even help? Or how does that even improve anything or whatever, right? Like, what I'm looking for is for ArenaNet to say, hey, we read through the pages and pages and pages of feedback. We've watched the videos of people that showed us the glitches and the things that need to be improved, and the arguments and the how to make it better, and like all these different things, right? Because like I said, we should be constructive in our criticism, and I think that's something that Arena needs to lean towards, not just look at the negative stuff, you know, or actually don't look at the negative stuff at all. Look at the stuff that's constructive in the way that they're making their comments and their feedback and stuff. And I think that ArenaNet needs to kind of, after sifting through all of that, kind of sit down and say, okay, well, this is what we kind of gathered from the, you know, the Gale Shot feedback, right? And this is what we got from the Paragon feedback, and this is what we got from the Ritualist feedback, right? And like kind of talk about these things that where they kind of outline the things that they're looking at, that they have received, that they're going to try to change or something. Because my thing is, last night I was talking about this, where I'm like, well, you know, we're like a month, like less than a month and a half away from the release of Visions of Eternity, and I don't know what Elite Specialization I'm going to be playing through that, like through all the maps and stuff, like the content and the story and blah blah blah. Like, I don't know what I'm taking, because I was thinking I would like to take the Ritualist, but the way that the Ritualist is designed right now, I absolutely don't want to take it, because I really don't think that it's good, in my opinion, right? And I gave my feedback and all of that stuff, right? And so it's just, that's like one thing that I would like ArenaNet to do, right? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about Elite Specializations once again, but you know, like I said, I kind of want to move on from that myself, but I kind of wanted to point that out. I just wish that ArenaNet would kind of look at maybe a little bit of that, and just kind of give us feedback, right? And give us feedback on our feedback kind of thing, and really say, hey, this is what we saw the most complaints about, and here's an outline of something that we saw, and we kind of take inspiration from that to maybe mold this Elite Specialization in a different way. Like, I really think, for one, the Guardian, which is, God knows I can't think of the name now, but the Guardian Elite Specialization, that, like, I think there was some really good feedback that I myself gave, that some other people have come up with, and even people that have commented on my videos have actually inspired me on like a different version, where to the point where I'm like, this shouldn't even be a shroud anymore. It should just be like a forge where we get like a weapon out of it, but it's not like the lantern is like where we create weapons out of, but it's not a shroud anymore. Like that type of stuff, you know? So anyways, I don't know if that is something that, you know, is going to go through to ArenaNet or what. Like, I don't know, right? But that's what I would like to see. I would like to see that as a change going forward with other betas. Like, give us some feedback on what you have kind of gathered from all the many things, because there's so many different ideas and different changes and criticism and constructive criticism and like all these things that ArenaNet has received, but we don't know what's sticking. We don't know what they're taking from all of that, from the pages upon pages upon pages, right? What did they read? What did they see? What did they, you know? So I don't know. But anyways, so we'll see. I mean, we're getting pretty close. So today we're going to be talking about the Skimmer Masteries. I made a video last week where I kind of outlined a little bit of what I would like to see. I talked about a like a sonar ability to find treasure, because that was like one of the things I really enjoyed. I talked about like getting the mist surges, but doing like water spouts versions of that, where we can kind of soar around the map, you know, because they talked about like I guess in a way like flying, which is like different from hovering. I guess it's like higher and longer or something. I don't know. So we kind of talked about some things. So make sure to check out that video if you guys want to see what, like, you know, my predictions for it were. But I kind of skimmed over some of the stuff. I didn't actually read. I kind of wanted to see how long this is. So let's jump into it and just read the article. So I'm gonna move. As you guys can see, I've made some changes. If you guys missed the stream yesterday where I kind of showed that stuff off, but I made some changes in the room, so my second monitor is now above me, and I need to have a background because just it doesn't look as good behind me anymore. So so that's why we have a cool background now. So, but there we are. Anyways, so new Skimmer updates splash onto the scene with Visions of Eternity, and we get this cool image here of the, so we already talked about this. One of the things that I talked about was like how the dragonfly plus the animations plus the sound effect of the attacks, right? Like how that really reminded me of Sparks from Spyro was one of the things that I talked about in the video, and I still maintain that. I really feel like that is, it feels like that's what they're taking inspiration from, which is not a bad thing, because I like Sparks even as a character. Like, I always enjoyed having my little... I always thought it was such an interesting choice of having a sidekick that's not like a fairy or whatever, right? But it's a dragonfly. It seems like such a cool and interesting like idea, you know? Still love Spyro. But yeah, anyways, so we have that. Back in July, we announced that a set of new and updated mechanics for the Skimmer would arrive with the launch of Guild Wars 2 Visions of Eternity. Today, we're excited to share more details, including some exciting boosts for those with the previous Skimmer Mount Mastery line trained, which is most certainly me. To see the Visions of Eternity Skimmer, including new abilities. Yeah, there was a live stream on Friday. They always do this. That's the thing. I really like the Skimmer. Like I said, one of the things that I want to see is like in speed increase, like an increase in speed, because the way that the thing is, it works in water, like in water and on water, right? But on land, the Skimmer feels so bad because it's just so slow. Like, I don't know what the actual speed is, but it feels like it's not even faster than running sometimes, you know? So yeah, I don't know. A home called Castora. During your time in Castora, it's not on Castora. I thought the island itself was called Castora, but we're saying in Castora. So is Castora a country then? A continent? Would you still say? But if it's a continent, you'd still say like on Castora, right? I don't know. Do you say like on Australia? No, you say in Australia. I don't know. Interesting. Anyways, the thing is, the only reason why my brain is going like right for that, like like zoom in on that, because we've got next to no info on Castora, right? Like, it's such a mystery, which is really cool that this goes to release of the expansion. We know nothing about the place we're going to, which is just gonna kind of build the hype. And I gotta really commend, another thing I gotta commend ArenaNet for is that they really understand, or I don't know if they really understand. I think this time around, with the release of this expansion, I think they really were able to keep the hype going, because they started with something super hype. Now they're doing in the middle, they're probably gonna do the things that people might not be super hyped about, like a little bit low, you know, maybe less interesting things maybe talked about or whatever, right? That, you know, people aren't like, oh my god, I need to know the Skimmer stuff, right? Like, people aren't, you know, people are like, elite specializations I need to know, kind of thing, you know? But then leading into the expansion, maybe with kind of talking about the story and Castora and stuff like that, like weeks before the actual release. Like, I think this time around they really kind of stretched it out long enough to last. Like, I think it was a perfect period of time that they have chosen for this to kind of stretch it out and give us all this info, right? So, anyways, you will likely stumble upon a new yet familiar creature that calls the island home. Wavehawks. Wavehawks? Really? They call that a wavehawk? Okay, interesting. That's you know, that it's the same they did with the Warclaw, where they started calling, they were not Warclaws, but they were Journeykin, right? So it's the same thing here. Otherwise known as Skimmers in Elonian local parlance, are masters of both sea and sky. Okay, they've adapted to the island's rich energies, and when tamed, they become a valuable asset for those attempting to survive on Castora. And then we get that image again. Nothing too crazy here. Divergent evolution. Unlike the skimmers that reside in the deserts of Elona, these skimmers evolved in a setting rich with ley energy. Ley magic. Jesus, where did I see energy? That runs through root and sand. This has turned the Wavehogs into highly mobile mounts that can navigate with ease and grace over all kinds of terrain, as well as boasting some new combat and exploration abilities. Ether location, a pulsing sonar-like signal that detects nearby threats and enemies. While submerged, it also has the ability to detect hidden treasures throughout the waters of Tyria. Interesting. So, okay. So I talked about this actually in the video I just made where I talked about the Skimmer Masteries. I talked about another video where I talked about where I talked about an expansion concept. Underwater expansion concept, and then that underwater expansion concept, I said that we're gonna get like that. The whole concept was about, you know, the different areas that we get, blah blah blah. But one of the things was that we would get, was it 2 underwater mounts? One that's what was the concept? Oh my god, this has been so long ago that I made this video now. This was during Secrets of the Obscure, so it's been a long time. But it was that one was slower than that the thing was that in that video I talked about how the skimmer is the middle of the road when it comes to underwater speed, and then you get 2 more mounts where one is faster, which was the dolphin, and then there was another one which was the seahorse, which was the slower one. And I think I said on the seahorse, the slower one, you would have the ability, or on both of them or something, you would have the ability to use sonar to find treasures on the ocean floor. So that is exactly what's happening here. So I'm going to give myself 100% credit there that I came up with this idea and ArenaNet listened to me. No, I'm not that arrogant, but that is exactly what I said in that video. So that's really cool. I like that. Now, here's my thing. So they say of Tyria. Does that include like the regular world as well? Like, does this include like, because they say hidden treasures throughout the waters of Tyria, not just like the waters around Castora or something. You know what I mean? Like in and around Castora, right? They say of Tyria. Does that mean we're gonna get that we're gonna get treasures in core Tyria or in other maps as well? Like something like that? I don't know. But yeah, so this is not on land. This is just underwater. So we're putting a lot of focus on the water here, which is interesting because, again, ArenaNet has kind of not put a lot of emphasis on the water side of stuff in a long time. And so the thing is that with the Warclaw, I could see some issues with this, right? Because with the Warclaw finding treasure all around or whatever, it kind of brought you, like I said, it was in my review of J3 Wilds, I liked that ability because it took you around the map, right? It took you around the map, and you know, you would stumble upon different events as you looked around for treasure, and you know, you were just kind of like using your sonar or whatever, your sniff ability to find treasure, right? And you would kind of walk around the map. But here it's like, how much is happening in the water, right? Like, it feels to me, because ArenaNet has stepped so far away from doing underwater combat. So is this a matter of on land you have all the fun stuff happening, but underwater and on the edges pretty much you have the treasures that you can find? So if I go on to Castora or in Castora or whatever, right, and I float around on my skimmer and I use my sonar to look for treasure, then does that mean that I'm going to be missing out on a lot of the action because the action is not happening in the water? Because ArenaNet has stepped away from doing stuff underwater and in water and stuff like that. So I need to kind of see the actual, like, what, you know, why is this ability only available in water? There's no treasure chests on land then? We're kind of stepping completely away from that? From having treasure chests on land, because I really like that, right? I talked in the Skimmer video, I talked about the idea of having these treasure chests around, which originally used to be little fox spirits where you had to solve the puzzle, which was like Zelda, right? And you had to like do little things where you had to like, you know, destroy all the boxes all at once or whatever, right? Or like pick up different rocks and find the one that has the chest under it, or, you know, whatever. And they went away from that. They went away from that. They went with the Warclaw being able to sniff out the mounds and dig up treasure. So I still love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably still going to be floating around everywhere looking for treasure. But again, I'm missing the... Because like I said, I liked the idea of having the treasures guide you throughout the whole map. So we'll have to kind of see how that works. Okay, so I'm kind of wary of that. Slipstream boost. Increase the base speed of the skimmer for a set duration during this. So slipstream boost. In the video, one of the things I totally forgot about when the footage specifically in the skimmer video that I just did. You guys can actually kind of see it in the video too. I mean, I have the UI turned off in that video, so you can't really. But if you go to that area where that's the Kralkatorg Emergence Zone or whatever that's called, right? Which is like down in the little lake from the Metal Legion concert in Grothmar Valley. There's actually the little adventure that you can do, and you get a special action key that actually gives you an increased boost to your skimmer speed for a couple of seconds. So is this like that as well? Did they take inspiration from that? I don't know what that actual ability is called, But I wouldn't be surprised if it's called exactly that. So having that permanently would be really cool if it's like that, because I like that increase. It's not for very long during that adventure, during that race or whatever, but that's, I would still like to see that. I think if that's what it is, I would be okay with that being that ability right there. During this time, using the hover skill also increases the vertical height gained of the skimmer past previous limits at the cost of stamina. Okay. So we can hover higher during the slipstream boost. Again, how long does that last? That's my question. Water jets commands the skimmer to fire a set of projectiles that damages enemies and heals allies. When it is held, the ability will continue to fire up to the max ammo count. Okay, so my prediction was that. So I was completely off. I thought that would be like inflicting some kind of non-damaging condition, but they're sticking with the skimmer being a heal mount, which is actually interesting to kind of see, because this is something that we can use in combat. So are we going to see people during like meta events just kind of sitting on their skimmer, just shooting firing their projectiles into it, into the crowd, and healing everyone, and like maybe doing some damage that way? I don't know, but still interesting. I kind of want to see. It's weird because they say water jets, but then you look at it, the animation doesn't really look like a water jet to me. But whoa, what's that? That's so cool. Look at that. That's kind of cool. I don't think we've seen that yet. Like that exact, like the roots coming off of that. That's kind of cool. But yeah, so we can shoot that out. It just comes out of the sides there, and yeah, okay. So those are 3 of the abilities. So yeah, I don't dislike it. Let's see what else they have here. Training your skimmer. Once unlocked, you will learn to master skimmer's new abilities throughout your CORSAIR adventure. For those with the previous skimmer masteries from Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire, you'll see a boost to the existing masteries to take your mount to new heights. Advanced hydrodynamics grants your skimmer the ability to dive underwater. For those who already have this ability, which I do, with skimming the depths trained, it will also increase the base speed of the skimmer, as well as grant temporary stealth when diving into and out of the water. So base speed, like, they didn't say in water, so this is base speed all around. Okay, so once you train the underwater mastery, you will then gain a base speed, if you have both of them unlocked, which was actually really cool. It was I talked about it in the skimmer video a little bit. I touched on that, but it was the ability to dive into the water was added later on, and it was this little adventure that you had to take where you had to go around the world and talk to different like skimmer, like people that had to deal with skimmer and stuff like that, and you kind of learned about that they're like evolving in a way, and they're now, oh yeah, we can train them to like dive underwater or something. I don't remember. It's been what, like 5, I think it was like, what did the image say that I had in there? It was like August 20th 2020 or something. Was that, or was it August? It was like years ago. Okay, so I don't remember exactly how it went, but I remember being a fun little thing that you can go on that ended in like this little adventure in Line Sarge and stuff. So but yeah, okay, so you gain increased base speed, and then you grant temporary stealth when diving into and out of water. So that's interesting. I wonder how long, again, the duration of all of these is kind of what I'm wondering, because if it's only like 3 seconds, I don't know how big of an impact that's going to make. But it also depends on how much there really is. Like, the skimmer is a water mound, right? It's an in-water, underwater kind of mound. And in Elona, they made it work because they had like quicksand and stuff, right? And it was just like, oh, okay, well, we don't need water, but we have like areas of quicksand where you can ride your skimmer around and you don't get hurt, and you get all the same benefits of being on water or whatever, right? But now we're going actually into water, and we're focusing on a water mount. How much underwater and in water stuff is there, right? Like in CORSAIR, like how much are we gonna see there? So it's kind of my question, because diving into and out of water, again, it's fine, but if we're still stepping away from having the water, again, the way that I imagine is like, okay, all this stuff is happening on land, right? We have the meta event happening on land, and we have like all the regular, you know, the different events and stuff are happening, you know, on water, or on the map, on the regular map, on land, right? Because we're not doing much in water anymore. And then we're gaining all of the stuff for the skimmer that has to deal with diving into and out of the water and finding treasure in the water. But if there's nothing in the water, is that them trying to kind of maybe utilize the whole map? Is that where we're going with this? Like, I'm trying to figure out what the whole reason behind this is. ArenaNet trying to say, okay, well, if we have water, like, think of, to kind of give you guys a visual a little bit, think of the way that Saitung province works, right? Where you have all of this content, but you have a ton of water around it. But none of the water really does anything. Yes, you have the, like, the skiff, the fishing tournament where you can use your skiff and stuff like that. And I think there's like a couple of events that deal with like going into the water there. But mostly all the water around is completely dead. There's nothing happening in it. There's no reason to go into the water around Saitung province. So is that what they're trying to fix? Are they trying to do like a Saitung province thing where you have all the events and the regular stuff happening in the map, you know, on land, and then the water that's around the island, they want to populate with like people looking for treasure and stuff and kind of utilize the whole area of it? Is that what we're trying to do? It just kind of feels like there's a conflict of interest, because you're kind of now pulling people away from the regular stuff that's happening. If you're gliding around, because you can actually find treasure around the waters in Saitung province, right? You can actually find like underground, you can find treasure chests and stuff around there. So if you're doing that, you're not actively participating in the events. So is that kind of dividing the forces here a little bit? Or is there a purpose to this, right? Are all of these abilities going to be used in some kind of manner during the events, right? Is there some kind of event that takes place in the water, right? Do we see more Leviathan fights, for example? Is that like a big thing that's going to be happening? You know, my worry is that ArenaNet has stepped so far away from the underwater stuff that now focusing on the water mound seems a little weird to me, right? So that's why when I did the video that I did where I kind of did my predictions, I tried to bring as much as I could. Like, I talked about the water spouts and stuff, right? Where I'm like, oh, they can make those anywhere on the island. They can just have like a water spout come out of it, and you can use your skimmer to go up on it, giving you a reason to use your skimmer on land, right? They're not doing that here, as I can so I don't know. I'm a little like what's going on there? You know, I'm kind of questioning some of this stuff. Not that I don't like seeing all of this stuff. The reason why I made an underwater expansion concept video is because I want to see more underwater stuff. Yes, don't get me wrong, underwater combat needs to be improved, and there needs to be a lot of things that need to be changed, and the weapons need to be updated, and the elite specializations need to be updated. And trust me, I understand all of that. But I'm saying I would like for them to kind of focus on that a little bit and work on that. Is this so? Are they saying they're moving towards maybe doing more underwater stuff? Because now we have like a skimmer that we can probably mount in I'm sure once I read through, we'll be able to mount in combat like we've been able to with the Skyscale and the Warclaw, right? Like, are we moving towards something like that? Are we moving towards maybe having the next expansion take place in the water for the most part, or something? Like, is that something that's going to happen? I don't know, but I'm like I said, I'm just kind of, I'm trying to see what the purpose of these masteries are. Are they just completely... Because it would feel really bad going in and training these and then half of these not even matter, right? Like, will it matter that I go into stealth when I go in and out of the water? Like, what's the purpose there, right? Like, will it matter that I can look for the treasure underwater, or that I have, like, the, you know, things like that, you know? So I'm just kind of questioning that. Castoran Intuition unlocks the skimmer's ability to use Aether Location while also enhancing the barrel roll and gauge skill. Unlocks the ability to use Aether Location. Okay, wasn't that here? I guess. Okay, so this is an actual mastery, and enhancing the barrel roll, which is the engage skill, where he kind of like does some healing and stuff as he like spins, as the skimmer spins, and then you dismount. This enhanced version of the skill allows for multiple dashes without dismounting at the cost of stamina. When it is held, the ability will activate its dismount portion of the skill. Okay, so we can use our 1 ability without dismounting. Okay, so providing even more healing. Are we gonna see, like, is there gonna be some kind of thing where we're gonna see, like, during the meta events, we're just gonna see a bunch of people on skimmers kind of like dashing through the group and then shooting at the group and then dashing both like through the group, like being healers in that sense? I don't know if I like that too much, because the problem, I dislike when people are on their mounts, but I think the biggest issue that I have with it is that I've seen so many people during meta events kind of just fly above and just shooting their fireballs with the sky scale, right? So I'm not completely against it, because I feel like the skimmer is still on the ground, and you know, that maybe they're still actively in there and they could be affected by the attacks, and it might be dismounted because the skimmer might die, right? The thing about the sky scale being like just flying above is because they're so disengaged from the combat, and they're just doing their fireballs that don't do that much damage, where I'm like, okay, you're just being really lazy and you're providing less DPS than any of the healers in the group right now, right? You're not helping the situation, and I kind of hate to see that. But if we have them as healers in the back, I don't know. I'm not completely against it, but for many of these, I'm finding that I kind of need to see them in action to really understand how they affect the world, right? In a way. So, Convergent Evolution unlocks the skimmer's slipstream boost and water jet skills. For those with Ride the Wind trained, it will further increase the aerial ascent power of hover high while slipstream boost is active, so we can soar even higher. So that's where the soaring comes in, I'm guessing, right? Is where you can hover even higher. So I want to kind of see how high we can get with that, like that. How much higher can we hover with that? So, and then we have the Riptide Rider, grants your skimmer the ability to ride ley lines and updrafts both above and within water. Oh, okay. So we can updrafts underwater. So I kind of talked about this a little bit. You know, like I said, I wanted to see water spouts on land. Like, are we going to see both above and within water? So I guess we're going to see updrafts. I would have rather seen them like become actual like water spouts, to kind of have like the differentiation between like, this is not wind, but this is water coming out of the ground. But that's still fine. I like the ley lines though. I like the ley lines. Like, I think it would be really cool feeling. Like, I'm thinking of like, you know, a map that has like a lot of ley lines. So we go to like Ember Bay, right? And like right as you go into Ember Bay, you have like where it divides. You have like two that go, like one goes to the circus and one goes to the like other side where the Skrit are, right? Like you can take this ley line, and it would be really cool to just get like on your skimmer and kind of hover, because we can now hover higher, right? And hover into the ley line, just kind of take the ley line. Like, I think that'd be really cool. So I like that idea. I like that we're doing it underwater as well. We're gonna see underwater ley lines. This is the first ever that we've seen underwater ley lines, because it says ley lines and updrafts both above and within water. So that'd be really cool. Because again, the only mount that we have underwater is the skimmer. So if we have ley lines underwater, that'd be really cool. I like that. I think that'll be really fun, and I love that this is coming, that the updrafts are happening for the skimmer as well. So that was part of my prediction as well, which is really cool. So alongside these enhancements, all versions of the skimmer, regardless of mastery or acquisition method, will also be getting base level updates. Players will now be able to dismount the skimmer in mid-air and can mount it in combat with no mastery training required. Okay, I mean, that's okay, yeah. So we can mount in combat and we can do it mid-air. So that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of it. They are just talking about get ready to soar above the islands of Castora. Okay, October 28th, and then we get a video. I kind of saw the video here. It's just showing off the items. I don't know if they've had a trailer like this, but it's showing off the new weapon set. I like the quality of these trailers. The qualities is a lot higher. They used to have these videos that were like totally like not like really blurry and stuff. They've definitely increased on that. But yeah, they're just showing off the weapons here. And they're showing off the skimmer, which I showed off my dye job that we kind of came up with during the and they show off the spinny, the engage skill there without yeah, and then they're showing off the gathering tools. I kind of watched that video. That was one of the things I watched. I wanted to see how important that was, but yeah, so they're kind of showing off the things there, and there's a ley line there, so kind of shows you a ley line at the very end. Yeah, I have a really cool dye job. If you guys watched that video on the new skimmer, on this skimmer, what is it? Skin, the mount skin, that I did with the people on stream. We kind of came up with that, and I absolutely love the way that it looked. So I'm gonna keep it on everyone that is using that. I'm gonna keep it like that because this isn't bad, but this is one of the coolest skins ever in the way that the colors actually get applied to it. Some of the colors look very like they give it like a weird like jelly. I mean, obviously it's like a jellyfish inspired, right? But it gives it like this weird like fluorescent lighting, and it looks really, really cool on many of the colors, and I think we found a really good combination there. But yeah, so that's pretty much the skimmer, you guys. I don't have much else to say to all of that. I mean, that's still, it was only like 30 minutes, 36 minutes right now. So yeah, like I said, my thing is the purity of purpose here, right? It's like what is the reason that we're getting these? Many of these are very water focused, right? Like, yes, we're going to be able to ride ley lines, which is on land, and we're going to be able to ride the updrafts, right? That's cool. That's two things on land. Our base speed is going to be increased, which is on land. But we have so many things that deal with like going into the water, specifically having the treasures in water. My question also is, if there is like shallow water that I could walk through on foot, can I find treasure there too? Does that count as in the water, right? Like, does, you know, if I go to one of those areas that has just a little bit of water, can I find like treasure there too? I don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure out how this is all gonna tie into it. Are we gonna see water combat? Like, are we gonna see events in the water? How much water is really involved with all of these things? So I'm gonna be interested to see. I don't think they're really. I don't know what they're going to do for the stream. I wonder if they're going to just show off these new abilities like in a different map, and they're not going to be on Castora when they do it on Friday, right? Like, I think I'm going to kind of reserve that whole thought process, that whole, like, you know, the questioning all of that until I actually see it in action on Castora, okay? Or in the maps of Castora, however it is, like in Castora, on Castora, whatever, right? But I'm gonna kind of wait until then. I do like it. Like I said, I want to see more underwater stuff. I want to see a revision to underwater combat. I want to see an expansion that actually takes place underwater, because I think that some of the underwater environments that ArenaNet has created is so beautiful, and I think ArenaNet could really create like this really amazing experience underwater. And I would like to see that. I would like to see ArenaNet step into the underwater world of Guild Wars and deal with some of the things like the Leviathans and the Largos and the Quaggan. Like, so many people don't understand that the Quaggan used to have a royal family with a palace, like that, you know, like all of these things, you know, that people don't understand. And I think we could really dive into these more obscure things that deal with the underwater stuff. And is this a lead up into this? Is this going to be something? I mean, I don't know, but I would like to see that. So anyways, that's going to be it for today. If you guys, you know, have watched this long, I really appreciate you guys very much. I do stream every so often. I've been kind of irregular on my streams. I'm trying to get back to like a regular you know, doing it like 2-3 times a week, but I've only really been doing like once a week kind of. But if you guys want to hang out on stream, I you know, make sure to like and you know, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. I know that notifications, just so you guys know, notifications on YouTube have been really wonky. A lot of people have been saying that for the last couple months now that something has been going on with YouTube. I don't know if it's them purposefully doing this or if there's like a big glitch happening, bug happening, or whatever. I don't know. But a lot of people haven't been getting notifications. So the best way that you guys can get notifications on the stuff that I release is to join the Discord, because I have a channel in the Discord that notifies everyone anytime I go live and anytime I release a video, which doesn't happen that often, but it does do that for you guys. And obviously it's a place to hang out at, so you can find the code, the link in the description. Also, if you guys want to support the channel further, memberships are available on YouTube. I would really appreciate that. And then there's also, I've recently updated the merch store a little bit. I've added some new merch in there. And there's also the referral links that I have that are sponsored by ArenaNet, of course. So I have if you want to try out Guild Wars 2 for free, there's a link down below. And then also if you're purchasing any of the expansions or whatever, make sure to use that link, the other link that I have down below. There's 2 links. You will see that in the description. To anything like that helps me out like a ton, and I appreciate everyone that has used my link and that's going to be using in the future. Like I really appreciate you guys for doing that. Yeah, and I will probably see you guys. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming tonight or not. I will kind of see, but I'm kind of working on a couple of other videos in the background, in you know, in the meantime, kind of. So you guys might see that. I want to do a couple more shorts here. I talked about that yesterday. And yeah, so we have some interesting stuff for the streams coming as well, because I'm going to be doing a lot of co-op streams with my sister. So if you guys are interested in seeing things other than Guild Wars 2, right? We're talking about Marios, we're talking about Zeldas, we're talking about Digimon, we're talking about like all of these things. Make sure to check out my streams sometime. So, but I'll see you guys then. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you then. Bye, guys.